I have always fought hard to make sure that we have the best equipped and best trained police force in Ohio. I recognize the special job that they're asked to do each and every day. But a decision that elevates them beyond our hardworking crews in public works, our brave firefighters, and our other employees compromises the ability of the people's elected officials to effectively manage the city for all of the needs that we're obliged to serve. I have been, over the years, a very outspoken supporter of a system that gave adults, full-grown adults, called essential government employees, a way to settle their differences without strikes. In fact, I suggested a few years ago that teachers should be placed in that system to give them the protection. But the system needs fixed. But just like a cancer patient who undergoes radical treatment to save their life, the legislature has prescribed a drug that kills the good cells along with the cancer. The simple way of saying that is throwing out the baby with the bathwater is not at all what most of us ever intended. I'm hoping that the legislature steps back and corrects and tweaks the language that is there, because we in this state and this city do not need to have police and firefighters going on strike. We do not need adults having no way to settle their differences. We do need a fair way, and one of those is to allow those decisions to be appealed to a court, elected judges in a community that have to answer to the public. That's one suggestion. But let me be clear. You know, it's not like I needed one more fight this year. I've already taken on a federal judge over his unreasonable and unprecedented decision to delay our cleanup of the river, pay millions in attorney fees, and impose astronomical rate increases on Akron sewer users, all of you as individuals as well as companies in this community. But I would suggest to you that anyone would get tired and weary of battling with people who have a personal or a political agenda. But this job requires someone to stand up and fight for the people of Akron. And I've been willing to be that fighter for issues that matter most to our residents. Years ago, I fought annexation battles with our township neighbors to make sure that Akron could get open space to build our factories, to keep our jobs here. For 28 years, I fought, and there are no board members here that were back then, so I can say this. For 28 years, I fought to get the very same kids who attend our public schools to get back into those school buildings after school and on weekends. I was joined with Marco Somerville, and we finally were able to get into those school buildings, and we now have, thanks to Desiree Bolden, the #1 rated after-school program in the country. I fought to get our fair share of tax dollars, as I mentioned, from Washington, because we still send more to the federal government than we get back. I fought EPA bureaucrats on rules that would dramatically increase the sewer rates for our citizens and our businesses. I successfully fought Governor Taft and the legislature to keep the local government fund from being eliminated 5 years ago. And 5 years ago, I was credited nationally with leading this successful fight as president of the nation's mayors, joining with leaders from the National League of Cities, the National Association of Counties, and the Governors Association to keep Community Development Block Grant Program. I even fought some of my best friends over the residency issue because I was standing up for the citizens who choose to live here in Akron and should have the right to require people they pay to live with them. It's ironic that so many people now from Coventry Crossings and Ellett come up to me and ask, hey, why is it that that police officer and firefighter next door, used to live next door, is moving? Well, we lost that battle in the Ohio Supreme Court, and many of the residents who thought that cop was their buddy over a beer and that I was a bad guy are now starting to realize that that guy has left their neighborhood, and I'm here standing trying to explain and pick up the pieces. There is a time to stand up and fight, and I've done it when it's right, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's with people that I have the highest respect for and are my friends, to try to do what's right for this community. Some of those fights have had great resolutions. Creative solutions like joint economic development districts instead of annexation, community learning centers that are in use, and now, as I mentioned, one of the best after-school programs in the country, restored funding from the state and federal government, and many of the people that I battled with as good individuals, having their own differences of opinion, are some of my best friends. You have no idea the first battle I had with Marco Somerville. The next day, I wasn't sure he'd ever talk to me again. But we are good friends now, as we have been over the years. Even though we disagree about many things, we're able to talk and do what's right for the community. The main reason that I've decided to continue my work is because so many people in Akron remind me regularly that they are glad someone's standing up for them. Just this past weekend, I had a gentleman and his wife stop me in a restaurant to thank me for fighting for them. And on St. Patrick's Day, a man who has hated me for a number of years, who said some of the worst, horrible things that any human being could ever say, actually came up to me, and it was before he started drinking. He was sober. I mentioned St. Patrick's Day. That might have thrown some of you off. He apologized for all the bad things that he had said, because he said he realized that he'd been wrong. He'd looked at things and understood and talked to people, and he understood that I was just doing my tough job. It's those moments that actually keep many of us going. But it was January when I decided to seek election for another term. Believe me, I thought long and hard about it, and my family and close friends, probably correctly, lobbied that I had more than paid my dues. But two things happened that had an impact on me and made me realize that I've been able to make a difference in the lives of Akron residents, and I wanted to continue to stand up for them. On January 14th, I remember the date exactly, Chuck Collins from WAKR assembled a series of sound bites from the comments found following the horrific Tucson shootings. And he set those comments from various people to music, to the song Through the Eyes of a Child. It really affected me emotionally, made me stop to think about where we are as a society and what I wanted to do for the rest of my life to make certain that the fringe element doesn't ever win, that we as Americans stand up for do what's right and not let the fringe element win. Then a week later, to almost confirm my decision, I was in Washington for the Conference of Mayors meeting. I attended a special event at the Kennedy Performing Arts Center on January 20th, and without thinking about it before I got there, I realized, and it was made clear to us, that this was the 50th anniversary of President Kennedy's inauguration. And I listened to Caroline Kennedy talk about her father's life and his legacy. It was that speech, for those of you, I know there's not that many in the room that will admit it, but it was that speech in 1960 that drove many of my generation to believe that we should be of service, in my case, to my community. I wanted to be involved. Not so much, in my mind, thinking about helping the country, but helping our community. But because after all, America is really made up of thousands of communities, and people involved in their community helps this great country of ours. I thought of the original reason I ran for council, and I realized that even though we are in the most difficult economic period of my lifetime, even though it is tougher to serve now than ever before, cutting and running, it's just not something that's part of me. I honestly get up every day thinking about how to make Akron better. And so, as I look honestly at our city's future, even in this difficult period, I have hope, first of all, because so many of you believe as I do, that Akron is really a place worth fighting for, to be an even better place for our children and our grandchildren. And I want to use my experience, my proven track record of accomplishment, and yes, my God-given talents right here serving the people of the city I love, Akron, Ohio. Thank you.